Over just a few days, the Philippines was absolutely rocked by a terrifying chain of earthquakes. But this wasn't just one single event. Oh no, it was a cascade, a series of seismic shocks that has left even the experts kinda stunned. So today, we're gonna break down what happened, why it happened, and the incredible power that was unleashed.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It all kicked off on a Friday morning, October 10th to be exact, at 9:43 a.m. local time. You know, just a totally normal day. People are at work, kids are in school, and then, in an instant, everything just changed.
And what caused all that chaos? A massive 7.4 magnitude earthquake. Now, to put that in perspective for you, anything over a 7.0 is considered a major earthquake. We're talking widespread, heavy damage. And as you're about to see, this was just the beginning.
Now here's what's really important. The quake hit off the coast of Vijaya in Davao Oriental, but check out the depth. Only 20 kilometers deep. That is incredibly shallow for a quake of this size. Think of it like this. The closer an explosion is to you, the harder it hits. That shallow depth meant the energy had way less ground to travel through, making the shaking on the surface feel exceptionally violent across a huge area. As terrifying as that initial 7.4 quake was, believe it or not, it was only the first domino to fall. What came next was a relentless cascade of seismic events that just kept the entire region completely on edge.
So get this, within hours of that first massive shock, a second, incredibly powerful earthquake struck the very same region. This one clocked in at a 6.8 magnitude. Now this is the crucial part. This wasn't just a main shock and a smaller aftershock. No way. Experts are actually calling this a rare double earthquake event. Two immense quakes hitting the same area on the same day. It's unusual, and it suggests a much more complex rupture along the fault line, which dramatically ramps up the potential for damage.
And the combined force of these two quakes was, well, it was devastating. The intense, prolonged shaking caused buildings in Mati City to just pancake, roads were literally cracked open, huge landslides were triggered, burying roads and completely cutting off remote mountain communities, and tragically, at least 7 people lost their lives, and dozens more were injured in all the chaos.
You know, numbers and stats are one thing, but to really understand the pure terror people were feeling on the ground, just listen to this. This was captured from an eyewitness during one of the aftershocks. It's just a raw gut reaction that gives you a real sense of the fear people were living through, moment to moment.
This whole crisis just unfolded day after day. I mean, look at this timeline. You have the 7.4 and the 6.8 on October 10th. The very next day, a major 6.1 magnitude aftershock hits Mindanao. Then, just 2 days later, a completely separate 5.7 magnitude quake strikes the central Visayas region. The Earth just would not stop moving.
And you gotta remember, beyond these huge seismic events, seismological agencies recorded hundreds of smaller aftershocks. A lot of them were still strong enough to rattle buildings and send terrified residents running back into the streets. Can you even imagine the psychological toll of that? The trauma and fear just compounding, day after day.
Now that 5.7 magnitude quake near Cebu on October 13th, that deserves a closer look, because it's a bit of a twist. It wasn't actually related to the Mindanao quakes at all. Turns out it was a powerful aftershock from an entirely different earthquake that had happened weeks earlier, back on September 30th. This one event injured at least 14 more people and caused a whole new wave of damage, fresh landslides, more power outages. Just unbelievable.
Okay, so all of this destruction, all of this chaos, it really begs a fundamental question. Why? Why is this region so seismically active? Let's dive into the geology behind the headlines. So, why the Philippines? Why is it so uniquely vulnerable to these powerful and frequent earthquakes? Well, the answer lies deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a place of just immense geological power.
The reason is something called the Pacific Ring of Fire. You've probably heard of it. It's this massive, horseshoe-shaped path along the Pacific Ocean, and it's basically where most of the world's earthquakes happen. It's not just a cool name, it's a zone of intense, constant geologic turmoil.
In the Philippines, it is located right in the heart of this incredibly volatile zone. The country is sitting at the collision point of several major tectonic plates. I want you to imagine these colossal pieces of the Earth's crust just constantly grinding against each other. It's like a geological car crash in super slow motion. All that grinding builds up immense pressure that sooner or later has to be released, and it's released in the form of earthquakes. That is the fundamental reason the country faces this constant, violent threat.
And that really brings us to the final crucial question. When you live in a place
where the very ground beneath your feet is fundamentally unstable. How do you build a society? It's not a question of if the next big one will hit. It's a question of when. So how can communities engineer their buildings, design their cities, and prepare their people for a future that is absolutely 100% certain to shake?